One of the biggest complaints of statue collectors is we don't get a lot of statues of less popular characters. Statue manufacturers make tons of Wolverines and Batmans and Venoms. But here you go, Super Skrull, a character that is really offset, and we have two amazing Super Skrull statues in front of me. I don't need two, I only need one. Let's find out which one is the better one. I was trying to think of some clever intro where I could talk about how Super Skrulls shapeshift to one another so they could go back and forth, but I'm just tired. As the Xtreme channel is pushing towards 50,000 subscribers, these are just a few of the statues we are giving away on the journey there. If you want to know how to win one, stay tuned for later in the video. Hey, welcome to the Xtreme channel. My name is Mr. X. We're all about extreme collectibles. $2,000 statues on the table here, both of Super Skrull from the Marvel Universe. If you're unfamiliar with these statues or this is your first time tuning in, I have separate videos on both of these statues. I got this first custom one a while back, so you can go back and watch that. It's a pretty amazing statue. And then recently I got in this one from XM Studios. So it's a licensed company. The original one, custom, means it's unlicensed. And now I have to figure out which one I want, which one is better, and we're going to do that here today. Now, the one I don't want, we're actually going to put up for sale in a few days on my end of the month sale video. Unless you're watching this from the future, then it was in the past. Got that? Let's go. So, Super Skrull, if you're unfamiliar, is an alien who is most widely known as an enemy of the Fantastic Four. Skrulls, the race that it comes from, have the ability to shapeshift, but the Super Skrull has the ability to adapt not only the shape, but the actual powers of certain people. Most notably, he likes to do the Fantastic Four. I think both of these statues are absolutely fantastic, but like I said, I only need one, so we got to figure out which one that is, and I think there's some distinct advantages and disadvantages to each one. So let's talk about that. And we're going to do that through what we call an extreme rumble, or an Xtrumble. So I've done these comparison videos for a while. There's a card at the top of the screen for a playlist of about 15 other ones, trying to figure out which one is the best. Now, as a disclaimer, some of this is objective, means that it is facts, stuff the media and politicians don't like, and some of it is subjective, which basically means it's my opinion based off of a bunch of data that I've accumulated because I bought one or two statues before. The first category I would normally dive in to compare is the concept. And as you see, the concept is pretty familiar, and they both have switch outs within the design portion we're going to talk about that complement that concept. So I think, more importantly, the biggest difference in the concept are the bases. So let's talk about the bases. Now, if you recall my review from the custom one, I hated that the base was so basic. Now, granted, it's probably supposed to be basic, that's why it's called a base. Where the Fantastic Four went all out. Not only did they create additional flames, but they have Sue Storm, the invisibility shield, to show more of that power. I think that's pretty cool. And then also a crashed Fantastic Four ship. Now the key to this, though, is it actually goes with other pieces in the line they're making. They're making the entire Fantastic Four. They've already revealed the Thing, and then I assume they're going to reveal the rest of the three. So while it's really cool that the XM Studio one actually goes with an entire line, one could argue, because the base is so basic on the custom, it could go with anything. However, I think it's clear the base on the Fantastic Four is much, much better, and that is the winner in that category. Speaking of design, there's two parts of design I want to talk about, and first, I think, is scaling. So they are actually both 17 inches, and when I say 17 inches, I mean from their foot all the way to their head. And they're both hunched over about the same amount. They're almost in a very similar pose. Now, Super Skrull himself is actually supposed to be 6 feet tall. So that'd be 18 inches on a statue. These are both 17 inches. So their height is actually the same, believe it or not. Just XM's base is really elevated. However, look at how thick the XM Studios one is. I think this is inaccurate. I think it's wrong. He's skinny in the comics. Granted, he can shift his shape, and this does look him more imposing, but I think it's just too thick.
That's what she said.
So for that reason, regarding scale, I actually give it to the custom one. A second category of design I like to talk about is displayability. So there's a few things on this. One, can you see it from any height level? Two, does it scale well with others? We already know this doesn't do that well. But three, more importantly, how much real estate does it take up? For a secondary character, this XM Studio one takes up way too much real estate in my opinion. I think that that's a big negative on this. So for displayability, I actually give it to the custom one right here. He fits really nice and in the scale you would think with other Fantastic Four-like pieces. Also for displayability, this guy just ends up being too tall to fit in like a normal Magicase D series. It's too big for the D. Now let's talk about the display options. So they both had multiple portrait display options. You can see them down at the front. Both actually had a screaming action battle portrait. This is the one I like. I think it fits with the anger of the Skrull on both statues. But ironically, both also had this one right here, kind of a sinister smile. While they're both different, they both have that really, really sinister, evil smile, which I think is cool. However, props goes to the custom because they have a traditional Skrull portrait. So this is more comic accurate. I'm sad that XM didn't include this. I think it's a big miss. They both have two thing hands. Both very similar. One's open, one's closed. Paint job's a little different based off the interpretation. But both of those thing hands can also show powers, where the custom can show fire, XM can show invisibility. They both have two long Mr. Fantastic arms, as well as a Mr. Fantastic that is lighting up fire. However, the big difference here is the custom has a third Mr. Fantastic arm in the form of a fist. Gives it, once again, a little bit of an edge. Now, for the record, the one on the left, the custom was actually revealed first. I think XM Studios stole some ideas from them? No. I mean, look, a lot of this looks like it's even based off this comic cover right here. So, when it comes to display options, while I like the fact that one of the display options on the XM Studio shows the invisibility power, that's already on the back leg of the custom, if you remember that. And that's not a display option, you have to display that. So to me, the tipping point is actually the custom because it has that additional portrait, which really surprises me. All right, let's talk about the comparison in price and value. So the custom, they made 50 of those, if you recall, and it actually was about $1,000, $1,100 with shipping. XM Studio was more about $1,400 and they made 500. So clearly the one on the left, the custom, is a better deal. It's much more rare. It's cheaper. As you can see, you do get less for it though. So I think the price difference is understandable. And the fact that it's a custom, I think, also narrows your audience. A lot more people are comfortable buying from licensed companies like XM Studio. So honestly, I think it's a tie when it comes to value. It's not exactly apples to apples. So I'm going to do a new category, Badassery category. And this is more like a conceptual thing. I know we didn't judge the concepts, but I think that the XM Studios one is just more badass. I think it's more badass simply for the fact that there's more dynamic action to it. I think the base really, really adds a lot. When I look at both of them, I think the custom looks okay, but XM Studios just looks incredibly badass. So I give the Badassery award to XM Studio. In the past, I used to do paint and sculpt, but these are both phenomenally done on both the paint and the sculpt. Again, not official, but I really like the thing arm better on the custom, although it's more modernized, where the other one's more classic. I think the paint colors on Skrull are fantastic. The portraits are second to none. The fire looks great. I like both painted polystone and translucent resin for fire, like the custom has. Paint and sculpt are essentially a tie on both. So which one am I going to keep? It's a tough one for me. I think, again, I like the badassery of the XM Studios better, and I think that's my draw to it. However, I think that it will dwarf some of my other characters in the display I'm doing. So for that reason, I think I'm going to keep the custom. For me personally, that's the overall winner, not only due to the affordability, but the displayability, the fact it has that extra comic accurate portrait, I think gives it a tiny, tiny edge over XM Studio for me. But right after I'm filming this, I'm actually filming my for sale video that's coming out in a few weeks. So maybe I'll just put both of them up there, and whichever one sells first is the one I will get rid of. I don't know. I'll figure that out in about 20 minutes. Throw down in the comments below which one you think, because we are now on our way to 35,000 subs, and we're doing the giveaway actually in 2 days for the 30,000 subs. But now we're working towards 35,000. We will be giving all of these statues away, plus additional ones at every 5,000 subscriber milestone. To win one of these statues, all you have to do is make sure you've liked this video, you've subscribed to the channel, you've hit that bell notification, and then just drop a comment below. Every 5,000 subscriber milestone, we are going to do a random drawing and pick a random comment and give one of these statues away, plus some additional ones I'm not showing right now. The more videos you comment on, the higher your chances are to win. I really appreciate you guys watching. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.